From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
All right. Welcome to the show, Rifters. We got a great show. Very excited for this guest. I've been wanting to get him on for a while. He has endless credits. You know him from the Purge, Prison Break, Kingdoms, and you could also see him on December 6th in the new movie Werewolves. The great Frank Grillo is here.
Hey, man.
Hey, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing good. Well, you just jump right into the recording because I wanted to respect your time.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying yes. I've been trying to get you for a few years. I really idolize you, and it's really great to actually talk to you, buddy.
Thanks, my man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about Werewolves because I saw it. I thought it was great. And I wanted to ask you, how did this project get landed in Frank Grillo's desk?
Yeah, you know, the producer, Miles Nacelle, and I had done a movie a while back for Netflix called Wheelman, which was a really great little movie. I loved the experience. I thought the movie came out great. It was a big success at Netflix. And he brought me this, and he said, read it. We're going to do it practically. Alex Gillis is going to do the wolves. They're going to do real wolves. And I said, all right, let me read it. And I read it, and I thought, okay, I want to talk to the director, but I love werewolves. I love werewolf movies. I love being in genre movies, and so I said, unless this guy's terrible, I want to do this. And Stephen Miller turned out to be great, and I'm happy for him because I think this is really a big step up for him in his career. And look, I think this movie, I thought at best Netflix would buy it. It'd be a cool streamer. The genre fans are amongst the best fans out there, especially with wolves. And
for sure.
To everybody's credit, man. I mean, the movie's coming out December 6th wide in this country, and it's maybe a $9 or $10 million movie, and that's a big deal for a little independent movie like this to go up against Wicked and Gladiator.
Yeah.
So,
well, Werewolves is getting my support first, then Wicked.
Yeah, well, Wicked is not getting my support, but Werewolves and Gladiator second.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you because I got you were so nice. You sent me a sneak peek of it and I watched it and I thought it was great. But I liked it because it also had the tone of like the Purge type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And when I read it, I immediately thought Purge Anarchy. Like I read it and some of my lines were actually very similar, if not the same as in Purge Anarchy. And so when I finally spoke with Steve Miller, I said, look, I think this is great. I think we need to change some of this because I really do sound like I'm in another movie. Yeah. And we did. We tweaked it a bit. We had some fun with it. But I describe it as the Purge meets Werewolves.
Yeah.
And, if it works, like, we'll do another one of these or two more of these. And we can go anywhere with it. We could do anything with it. And it really lends itself to, 2, 3, 4, however many sequels you want to make.
I really hope it works because now that we're friends, I could be a werewolf.
You can, man. It's funny because, we shot it in Puerto Rico and they had these really great performers, Ian and Ian, but they're all 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they're in these, great wolf costumes, but they're guys in costumes. And my kids were down visiting me and I said, guys, we're going to go see the wolves tonight. We walked out and I think my youngest son was like 12 at the time. We walk out and they're like eating candy and I'm like, guys, there's the wolves. And Stephen Miller, the director, said, what do you think? And my son goes, not scared. And I went, oh, fuck. And I would ask Miller every once in a while, I'm like, brother, is this going to work? Is this going to work? And to their credit, man, what they did in post with little CGI and how our DP Brendan Cox shot it and the sound. They really spent a lot of money on the sound and they made a great little movie that these theater owners love it. So who knows, man? We'll see what happens.
It's gonna be great. And like the cool thing about Werewolves is like this isn't your first wolf movie. You know what I mean?
No. It is not. It is not. And, we had Mechanical Wolves on that movie, too. And that was a great movie.
Yeah. And then I found out like what's the difference between a wolf and a werewolf, and a werewolf is like a human turns into a wolf, you
Right.
know. And then
Right.
a wolf is a real animal. And then I found out a timber wolf just lives in Minnesota.
You
Yeah.
know, it is funny, like to think, you know, you look at the moon somehow, and your whole DNA changes, and you turn into this, and you know, you really. So the other night we screen it, right? We have a great screening in Burbank at the AMC theaters. Everybody's, you know, yeah, you know how they love it, and plus they're at a screening, they have to clap. And so towards like the third act of the movie, it starts raining outside in the movie. And so people are asking really great questions, right? And one guy says, I got a question. And I go, yeah. He goes, what's with the rain? I go, what? He goes, how come it just started raining all of a sudden? That doesn't make any sense. And I looked at him, I go, bro, we're in a movie where human beings are turning into werewolves.
Right.
You're asking me about why it's raining?
Did you say one word? Movie magic.
No, I said get out.
But I wanted to ask you too, like, and it's not just this film, and a lot of other films you do. Like, your character is always saving family members, which it's not usually your son or daughter; it's different family members. And I think
Right.
that's very unique and very cool.
Yeah, I think also it's like why people say, how come you've never done a romantic comedy? I go, because there's no woman out there that's going to be like, oh, that guy, I want to be with that guy. You know, you want me to come over and fix your house or save you from the bad guy. And, you know, I think a lot of it is I'm the guy who, you know, never had the family, but deep down inside, there's a good man in there who could be a father. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to save. Oh, I've had a couple of kids in movies. My son actually played my son in Boss Level, and he wound up getting killed by Mel Gibson. So maybe, you know, it's not good that I have kids in my family.
Well, I actually disagree. I think you would be great at romantic comedies because you were great in The Sweetest Thing.
The Sweetest Thing. I was barely. I was in the shower.
Yeah, but like, you know,
Oh
you do a
my
movie with
God,
your character.
the Sweetest Thing. Boy, you'll do anything when you're an actor.
I also wanted to ask you because the great Lou Diamond Phillips in Werewolves, and I wanted to know, like, because I just interviewed him. He's like the coolest guy. I wanted to be like, hey, how was that? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's Lou Diamond. You know, Lou Diamond was acting while I was not acting. He was the big star. Like he was a big star, and that's what I love about guys like this. He shows up. He's Lou Diamond Phillips. He just shows up, and he's got a lot of exposition in the movie. Like,
yeah,
he just smooth and cool as a cucumber. He delivers it. I believe him, and he's like the nicest guy ever. And he's Lou Diamond Phillips, and so there's the lesson. You know what I mean?
Right before you were filming, did you say, "Hey, do you still know the words of La Bamba" or something?
Yes,
like,
I did, and he did. He does. I said, "Is there a sequel to that?" He's like, "I don't think so."
but no, it's just so funny to throw people off, you know, because I mean, I'm not a huge movie star like you, but I've done a couple movies that I didn't really like, but I like to always throw off the actor. And be like, oh yeah. What was it? Do you remember Young Guts?
I'm not a movie star either. I'm just a guy who sometimes stars in movies. And don't think I don't walk around all day going, I just never quite made it, did I? Never quite got to the place, that next level, that I don't know. I just, maybe if I made some different choices. And so, yeah, I'm not a movie star, sadly.
Well, I think you have a great story because I feel in my opinion, I feel you are a movie star because I remember one of your first films you did Minority Report, and you were just like, you know, you weren't really a big character, but you were in there. And now look at you, you know, you're first billing on Werewolves.
First billing on Werewolves. First billing on a bunch of movies and TV shows. And you know, I just finished Tulsa King with Sly, who was, you know, a childhood hero of mine. And one of the reasons I I got into acting was because of the movies that he did, and then for have him to call me and invite me to come and play this great character and probably do more with him. And yeah, so it's been fun. It's been a great. But I do walk around going, man, how come I'm not in Gladiator? How come that guy? I'm a better gladiator than that guy, you know.
Well, there could always be in Gladiator 3, so don't knock it down.
We'll see what happens.
I wanted to ask you about when you get a script that you want to produce, because you've also produced films like
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so like what like turns you on a script on saying, "Hey, I want to make this film happen"?
You know, I want to know that there's something interesting and singular about it, and I'm not just remaking something. And you know, if I say this all the time, whether I'm in acting in it or producing it with Carnahan, it's like, can we elevate this? Can we elevate this to make it stand out a bit? And I think the ones that I've produced, like Boss Level and Cop Shop and Wheelman and Point Blank with Mackie, I think they all kind of stand on their own, and I'm proud of all of them. And, you know, I think at this point, I've been in this business decades, you know, at a level that I've had to really hustle. You know, I'm not living in that thin air with those guys in that level. And so you tend to learn a lot more because you have to be involved more. And I think, you know, at this point, I can contribute as a producer to a movie that, you know, may not see the light of day. And that's what I kind of, you know, look at when I go into this thing trying to produce.
Yeah. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but did you also like give a hand in producing Werewolves too?
Yeah. I'm a producer on it as well. And I did Wheelman with Miles and Estelle, so I have a relationship with them. And, you know, it helps the movie too, because I can call in favors to people to, you know, and so it's all, you know, it's kind of a bit of an incestuous industry, and there's only so many people to go to. And so if you've been around a while and they trust you, you have goodwill, it's good for the film.
Yeah. Well, when the sequel comes out, you could always call me and be like, Keith, I need a werewolf. I'll be like, ah.
Keith, you could be, listen, you could be the guy who turned into the werewolf, and instead of not wanting to turn back the next year, you could be the guy who wants to be a werewolf.
That would be great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll be hanging out in Minnesota. I wanted to ask you because, you know, you're also on TV shows like Kingdom, Billionaires, and when you also do movies, do you ever, because you're working so much, do you ever like sometimes get confused on like which lines and stuff? Like, do they overlap you?
No, like this year I did Tulsa King, and before I finished Tulsa King, I started Peacemaker, which were two different characters. So some of that, you kind of, your behavior, you want to make sure your behavior doesn't kind of bleed over. But never lines or anything. But you do have to, like, I have some tricks that I can rely on, like most actors. And you do have to make sure you're not just relying on some tricks to get you through something. Otherwise, you kind of become boring in one note and stuff like that. So I do, because I work a lot, because I have a lot of bills, I do have to be cognizant not to be that same, you know, be myself, like that gruff kind of, you know, anti-hero guy in everything I do, because I can do it very easy. It's very easy for me to be. I don't know why.
You just got that Frank Grillo charm, you know?
Yeah, it's just that thing. I don't know. It's about, you know, that's a bad child.
Well, I also wanted to ask you about fight scenes, because this also connects to Werewolves, but also in all your other work. You know, I feel fight scenes are also, they could be, you know, because I know you box and stuff. I feel that it's also more not necessarily about a fight, but it's more like a dance. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of memorization in each move.
Yeah, it's all, obviously it's all the physical aspect, but it's like a script. It's got to be authentic. It's got to make sense, and there has to be a reason why you're doing it, right? And I've been in movies where the fights are over choreographed, and maybe it works for that movie, but I tend to lean towards it. I'm involved in all the fighting in every movie that I do, especially the smaller independent ones. My stuntman Greg Fitzpatrick travels with me all the time, and we choreograph my fights to look like they're real. They're dirty. They're not like it's a, I love John Wick, but John Wick is a very choreographed film, but that's the style. So I accept it. I love it. I don't do that. I'm not doing the Jackie Chan stuff. And, I want it to look dirty. I want people to feel uncomfortable when I'm in a fight scene. Do you know what I mean? And that's the language. It's a language of fighting in movies.
Have you ever been hurt while you're doing these scenes?
I'm in pain all the time. Yeah. I mean, I told the story 100 times. When I had that fight scene in the elevator with Evans, we shot that scene for like 5 or 6 days. We were, I mean, black and blue. We were, because you miss. I did a Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard with Ryan Reynolds and Sam Jackson and those guys, and I interrogated Reynolds, and I had to punch him in the face. And I said to Ryan, "Don't lean in. I won't hit you, but don't lean in, because if you lean in, you're going to get smacked." And he goes, "I won't lean in." He goes, "Don't hit me, Grillo. I won't hit you." First take, Ryan leaned in, and I don't know if you remember this. I clipped him good, and he took it like a champ. But I was like, "Oh, that's great. I'm going to break Ryan Reynolds' jaw the first take in the movie." And I think it's the take they kept.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Rolled with it. Yeah, he rolled with it like that. But you get hurt. You can't help it. I did this movie with Mekhi Phifer, Long Gone Heroes. We had a fight. We were beating the shit out of each other. I love it. I do.
And then, you're also Rick Flag in the new Commander show.
Creature Commandos. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you're voicing him, and then, like, I have a feeling you're also going to be him in the live action. So, like, how can
I am. I'm in Superman, the movie, as Rick Flag Sr., and then I'm in the season 2 of Peacemaker, which I just finished with John Cena and James Gunn, which I'm Rick Flag Sr. So I'm going to be scattered throughout the whole DC universe for a little bit.
So how cool is that? Because you're voicing a character, and now you're the live action, and you kind of am wearing his shirt right now. You know what I mean? So, like, how cool is it?
It's pretty fucking cool. And the plans that James Gunn and Peter Safran have for DC are amazing. And like I said, I'm kind of the connective tissue in a lot of this stuff, which is what happened with Peacemaker and Superman, which are coming out at the same time next year. So it's been a treat, man. I'm like very grateful and humbled that Gunn chose me, and I'm having a blast.
Yeah. Well, see, I wrote them. I said, "Hey, you gotta get Frank Grillo." I'm just acting like I have power. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Trying to
this
increase
guy
my
would be great. Yeah.
Trying to increase my chances for the Timberwolves sequel. Frank, I had 4 more questions, but they're fast questions, so I wanted to respect your time. I wanted to ask you, what's the oddest cameo request you ever got on Cameo?
When I was on Cameo, it was X-rated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Somebody asked, and they were going to pay me several $1,000s to do a very lewd act.
Oh.
And that's when I decided maybe this isn't for me. Yeah. I've been asked over the course of my my illustrious career to do some filthy things for people.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I'm like, do you think I need $2,000 that bad? Like, am I putting off the wrong vibe here?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Because like the oddest request I ever got was to break up with somebody's boyfriend. And
really?
Yeah, and I had to do it because, unlike you, I need the $20. You know what I
mean? I've learned, you're much younger, but I've learned never to do anything for money.
Well, that's why I do stand-up comedy. I mean, I don't make money.
You're very funny.
Oh, I thank you, Frank. And then I wanted to ask you, when you started in this business, and if you still have this element, but did you have any fears or anxiety, and how did you make that go away by the longer you came into it?
Great question. My fear and anxiety was I going to work? And then when I started to work was, how do I maintain this? And that I think about that today when I wake up. Like, even at this point in my life, I wake up and go, what am I going to do? What's next? And that, like, I think I have 2025 pretty mapped out right now. It looks good, but the fear of any actor, I think, at any level is, where's my next job going to be?
Right.
And that doesn't go away. It doesn't go away for me. It hasn't gone away for a lot of my friends. And that's the thing about this business. It's like, it doesn't matter how famous the outside world knows you and thinks you are. It's like, you still have lulls when the phone's not ringing. Yeah. That's why I got into producing and doing my own things. And I tell people this all the time. They go, what should I do? I'm like, go make your own shit, man. Take this phone. I don't care what you do it, but make your own stuff and, be responsible for yourself and don't wait for the phone to ring, because most likely it's not going to.
I've learned that the hard way, because like in this business, like I have a form of autism called Asperger's syndrome. So
yeah.
I was very nonverbal growing up, and stand-up comedy.
Were you really?
Yeah. And stand-up comedy really saved my life. I've been doing comedy for 23 years. And, when I interview people, like, it really helps me learn how to read people better. Like, one-on-one, I'm great. In comedy, I'm great. But, like, if there's, like, 4 other people here, I would be very, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I have a son. My son's 20 years old. He's the same thing. So
nice.
I've lived with him for 20 years since he was a baby, 18 months old. So I know what you're talking about. And it's why it's very interesting. I'm going to tell him about you. It's very interesting because, I mean, you are really sharp, man. And
thank you.
He is too, but it's the same thing. He's great one-on-one, but around a lot of people, he hasn't gotten to your point yet. He gets a little wonky. Like he gets overwhelmed.
Yeah. Like, and that's why I rely on my, what's the difference between a werewolf?
Right.
But no, your son would love me. I'll send you my stand-up special. He'll think it's the best thing in the world.
Please do, because we're always looking. He's in a special program at UCLA, and he's living by himself, and he's very independent, and that's part of the program, is that independence. And we're always looking for examples of successful, great people who are doing their thing, and have had a similar path than he has, because it helps them.
I'll definitely send it. He'll love it. Like, I'm really all about like helping the autism community like that.
Great.
So, yeah.
Me too. Yeah. Great. Good for you, man. It's good. It's good that you're vocal about it.
Yeah. And then I have 2 more quick questions. This one's kind of fast. Maybe you can't talk about it, but are you going to do another Purge film?
I know they're greenlighting another film. Originally, James DeMonaco had another script ready to go, Purge 6, it revolved around Leo Barnes, my character. I don't know if that's still happening. So I think there is going to be another Purge. I don't know that I'll be in it. Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, I got a great film for you. Purge, Werewolves Return.
Yes.
A whole night of curing werewolves.
It is.
And then my last question for you, because I know you have a lot of interviews and I want to respect your time, but I would love to talk to you again in the future because I love you. But if you could go back into a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
That's a great question, brother. And I'll tell you what I would tell myself. I would tell myself to not worry about accumulating things and worry about or concentrate on a certain level and type of career, right? So don't take the easy money and live in the big house and drive the fancy car. Live in a smaller house, drive a non-fancy car, and be able to have the freedom to pick and choose what you want to do without having money being an element.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
That's what I would tell my younger self.
Yeah. Because in the end, what is money? It's just paper.
Don't get seduced by things. I grew up a poor kid. My parents had no money. And so to me, achieving things and success was related to having stuff. And what I've learned and what I instill in my children is that's not the truth. It's that doesn't make you feel any better. What makes you better is to live an authentic life and to do what you really are set out to do in an authentic way without having to worry about paying things that you don't need.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm so glad you didn't say that, and you didn't say. I'm glad you said that, and you didn't say this. Hey, Frank, this is Frank Grillo from 2024. Hey, if this kid Keith Reza asks you to do his podcast, say no.
That was the second thing I was going to say.
Well, Frank, do you have a social media where the folks can follow and support you, or anything?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram only at Frank Grillo 1, and I post a lot about my 2 cane Corsos and what I do and my workout and my career and stuff, and so it's fun and light. And Frank Grillo 1 Instagram.
All right. Well, guys, that's the interview with Frank Grillo. Go see Werewolves Friday, December 6th. It's a great film. And Frank, it was an honor to actually talk to you, pal. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, brother. We'll talk again soon.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great day, Frank.
You too, pal.